Hi there. So today I'm going to be showing you how to set up your Supabase database, your oAuth providers, and your email sending service using the new Create T3 Starter Kit that uses NextJS and NextAuth. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Create T3 website, and we'll just copy this command here. And we're actually going to be using pnpm, so you can just run pnpm create T3 app like this, and it'll download the necessary files for you, although it might take a few minutes, and we're just going to wait for it to fully download. Once you see this, you can just name your project. So I'm just going to name it demo project, and we're going to be using TypeScript. We'll just select all of these options. Sure, we can choose a new Git repository, and yeah, we'll run pnpm install, and now it's just going to install everything for us. Okay, so once you've got it downloaded here, what you can do is let's just go into the directory. So we named it demo project, and we'll just open up the code on VS Code. And let's go over to our schema.prisma file. Here you'll be able to see your database schema. So right now you can see that we're using Prisma, SQLite, and so on. So actually now what we're going to do is we'll just create our Supabase database, and I'll show you how to set that up. So head over to supabase.com, and then you can just sign in or create an account. Once you create an account, you'll go over to the dashboard, and it'll look something like this. So we're just going to create a new project, and you can name your project anything. So I'll just name it demo project, and we'll just generate a password. You can choose any password. I'm just going to choose the one that they already gave us. And as for your region, just choose the region that's closest to your users. I'm going to choose Canada Central since I'm in Canada. And now you can create a new project. What this is going to do is it's going to create your new database setup. To configure it fully, it might just take a few. All right, so once your database project is configured, it's going to look something like this. So we're just going to go to project settings, go to database, and let's look for our URI, and we'll copy this URI here and go back into the schema file, and actually you'll go over to your env file and you'll just paste it here along with your password, which should go over here. So let's go grab our password again, and password can be found here. And remember to get rid of the square brackets. So this is going to be our password. And let's configure our schema settings just before we move on. So in our video, we're going to be using PostgreSQL. And let's see. So these are the standard account settings. What we're actually going to do is we're going to erase the commented out DB text just in case our database refresh token and access token strings get very long. And so yeah, that should be it for your database settings. Okay, so once we're done configuring our schema.prisma file and our env settings, we're going to push our database, to push our schema to our database. So we're going to run pnpm prisma db push, and that's just going to push our schema to the database, and let's see if that works here. Okay, so it looks like it's working here. So let's just go over to our database and see if it made the changes. I will be able to go to table editor, and yeah, it looks like it pushed the schema in the tables. So we have account, example, and so on. Okay, so now that we're done configuring our database settings and our environment variables for our database, we're actually going to set up our Google oAuth provider. So let's head over to Google and search in our Google Cloud Console. And you're going to see this right here. Click on it, and it's going to take you to the page for your Google account. And we're going to create a new project. So this is the first time using this on this email account. So we're going to create a new project. You can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to name it demo project. Create. So it's just creating it over here, and let's just wait for that to finish. All right, so once your project is successfully created, you're going to select it over here. So you're going to select demo project or whatever your project name is. And we're going to go to APIs and service. So let's see here, once it loads, you're going to see something like this. So we're going to go over to credentials. Got it. And we're going to create a new credential. It's going to be an oAuth client ID. Okay, it's telling us to first configure the consent screen. So let's configure the consent screen first. We're going to use it for internal. Oh, never mind, external. App name is going to be demo project. Sure, it's going to be your main email. What else is there? So the application homepage is localhost 3000. So this is only for development, but for your production, you're going to put your actual application homepage. Okay, so that should be good. All right, and this should be good. We can just configure everything and go back to our dashboard. Okay, so once you've configured your consent screen, we're going to create new credentials, and we'll go over to oAuth client ID. And the application type is going to be a web app. You can name this anything, and the origin is going to be localhost 3000, just because this is a demo project, so we're not going to make an actual website for it. And the authorized redirect URI is going to be the path that NextAuth wants you to take. So it's going to be localhost 3000 /API /auth /callback /Google. And that's going to be it. And we're going to create this. It might take a few minutes to fully set up. And we're going to see our client ID here and our client secret here. We're going to go over to our project, and if we go to our env file, you notice here that Discord has a client ID and a client secret. We're just going to make the same format, but for Google. So we'll do Google _ client _ ID and Google _ client _ secret. And as you can probably guess, you're going to copy and paste these into here. Okay, so now that we've configured our client ID and our client secret in our env file, we're also going to add it to our env.mjs file here. So just like with Discord, we're going to make a Google _ client _ ID, and that's going to pull in process.env. Google _ client _ ID. Okay, and it's giving me an error here. Oh, so it looks like we did not validate our schema. So we're just going to do the same thing with Google. So let's just do a Google one, and should resolve the error here. Yep, so we also need the Google client secret here. And let's go out and check to see if Google shows up here. Looks like we're missing something, so let's go back to here. Okay, so now if you go to your auth file under server, you notice here that we're importing our Discord provider, and it's found here. So that's what actually makes it show up on this NextAuth page. We're also going to have to import our Google provider so we can see it there as well. Let's import Google provider from NextAuth /providers /Google, and just going to copy the same settings for the Google provider here. We can just copy this over, replace this with Google. And looks like it's good. So let's try loading it again. And you see here, now you see sign in with Google. Let's see if it's working. Let's just choose this account. So it should sign me in. There we go. It's logged in as me. And so you can do this however you like. You can also configure your sign-in page and your sign-out page and all these buttons. The one thing I would say is whenever you click the sign-in button here, the way NextAuth configures it if you redirect to your API slash auth slash sign-in page, I think the callback URL here that they use is where you get redirected to, depending on your configuration. So if you're manually redirecting to this page without the query here, it might not redirect you to the page you came from. But yeah, that's how you set your OAuth provider with Google. If you wanted to set up other OAuth providers like Facebook, you can just Google how to set it up on their platform, just because each platform is a little different. Okay, so now that we've set up our environment variables for our database and our OAuth providers, the next thing we're going to do is set up our email sending service. So when you go to Google, you can just search up SendGrid, which is going to be our third-party email sending service that we're going to use for this video. In the top right, it should give you an option to create an account. So just create an account on this website, and it should take you over to the dashboard. Once you hit the dashboard, we're going to create a sender identity. The sender identity sort of just verifies where the sender or the sender's email. So I'm just going to choose my name, and the email address should be the email address you want it to send from. Usually if you choose a free email address like a Gmail, it might give you a warning just because free email address sending is not usually recommended. And I'm just going to choose the same email address for the reply to. The company address, forcing me to make one? Yeah, I guess you can just put anything. So I'll just John Smith Street in Toronto. Let's choose Canada. What am I missing here? Nickname, sure. And so once we get that set up, it might send a verification code to your email. All right, so it did force us to verify it using our email. So just head over to your email address account and verify it. Okay, so it did force us to verify the email, which is no problem. Once you've got the email verified for the single sender verification, so if you go over to integration guide, just waiting for it to load here. We're going to be using the web API since this is the easiest way to do it on SendGrid. We're going to be using Node.js, and you can just choose any API key name. So we're going to do email API key, create the key. So it's going to give you this environment variable here. So just head over to your project, go to your env file, and you want to choose this API key name that it has here. So let's just create SendGrid API key equals, and then we're going to copy and paste this into here and just save it over. And next thing you want to do is install SendGrid mail. Since we're actually using PNPM, we're just going to add a P to the end. And it's just going to go ahead and install that for us. And so if you want to send your email, you just want to create some sort of utility file or something like that here. And so this is a code responsible for sending the email. So if we go ahead and create a utility file, send email.ts, we'll just paste it into here. And let's see, we don't need the JavaScript here. Okay, so send const send email equals, just going to bring that into this. We are using TypeScript, and what's the issue? Catch error. Okay, so we're going to add some parameters send email to of type string. From you're not going to need because it's going to be the same email every single time. Subject, you can choose it yourself. You can actually configure send email. I just put as generic send email, but you can have something like send authentication email, so it can have the same subject, text, and HTML every time. Catch error. So it is an asynchronous async. Oh wait, no. Okay, so next we're just going to copy this over and head over to our code, and we're going to create a new utility file. You can name it whatever you want, so I'll just name it email, and we're going to create a function that's going to send emails for us. And so the name of this function is going to be send email, and it's going to take an email parameter. So this is going to be the email that it's going to send the email to, and we're just going to configure this here. And instead of sending it to test.example.com, it'll just send it to the email that you specify. And why is this giving an error here? Maybe this? Nope. You know, for now we'll just do type any. But yeah, so whenever you call this asynchronous function, it's going to send an email with these parameters. If you want to customize it, you can update this and add more parameters to the function, but this is how you are able to send your emails with SendGrid, and it's just that easy. You just call the function from anywhere in your code. But yeah, that should be it for today. That's how you set up your Supabase database, your oAuth providers, and your email sending service.